Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rage here, and I just wanted to touch on a few things here before we jump right into the VODcast. First off, welcome back for the second episode of the podcast. You guys have given me such a wonderful response to this, and this is something that I've always wanted to do, so I really sincerely appreciate the support in that regard. So thank you guys. The Twitch channel is doing insane, and you guys love the podcast, and the YouTube's doing better. So thank you guys so much for the support. I sincerely appreciate it. I hope that you guys enjoy episode 2. We've got some more things coming for episode 3 and beyond. You guys will see those in the future and upcoming. The intros of these are going to get better. And yeah, so we got a lot of stuff on our plate for you guys. I'm really excited to share these things with you. And hopefully you guys are going to continue to enjoy these, and we're going to continue to do them. So yeah. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for clicking, and hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast. I'll see you after the show, okay? Comment, like, subscribe. Hello, Internet! Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We're here for episode 2 of Delete the VODcast. My name is DudeiRage. I'm here with my good friends, Netsy and Jay Briswa. Today we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about our 2019, a year in review. We're also going to talk about what our goals are in store for 2020. And do you guys believe in a New Year's resolution? All that and more. Starting now. So let's talk about 2019, boys. What do we man? I mean, open floor. What do we? Where do we want to start? Do we want to take what was the best thing that happened to you guys? Not necessarily okay. Do we want to go? Let's go back a decade, right? Dude, we're in the next decade. Doesn't that blow your mind?
Crazy.
I
barely remember stuff from a decade
Oh my god,
ago.
man! I remember, dude. It was just 2002, fucking yesterday. Anyway, I'm old. I'm not old, but I'm getting there. Anyway,
You're pretty old,
dude. What's the craziest thing that you guys remember about the last decade?
Oh,
It doesn't have to be personal. It doesn't have to be personal. It could be just what is the thing that you
Craziest
remember the
thing.
most out of that decade? Dude, there's so many things that have happened.
Yeah, it's crazy because for me, obviously, it's decade is to a lot of people not that long, grand scheme of things. But for me, I'm okay, so what was I doing when I was 10? I don't know. What was I doing? I don't know.
You were
That's
10.
a long time.
You were 10 this decade.
I mean, I'm 21 in February, so yeah.
Oh my god, man, dude.
Oh my god.
That's crazy, man. It's
You're
nuts,
to be
man.
my dad at this point, honestly.
I just want to throw it
I
out
think I was
there.
still playing soccer. and
You were
shit
still
back
playing
then.
soccer?
Hell yeah.
How old are you right now, Briswa?
I'm 22.
You're 22? God, you guys are babies, dude.
We the youngins.
I'm ancient, bro. I was here for the ancient Mayan civilization, Shout out to Hoss. Anyway. Yeah, dude. So I'm trying to think of what the craziest thing. We've all experienced a shitload of things in this decade, man. God, I've gone through so much personal growth. Let's take ourselves into perspective here. Say you're standing in front of a mirror, and you're progressing over to the other mirror. What has changed about you the most in the last decade that you can think? The positive and negative, maybe. I don't even know. For me, dude, I've changed so much. And I used to be I kind of am a sailor on stream still a little bit, but I'm so aware of that now. And the progression obviously with me is I'm
just kinda go
DudeiRage,
with it.
right?
Whatever.
And you remember, Justin, when you first started watching me, dude,
Yeah.
I was toxic, dude, and I still can be toxic, but
Boom.
yeah, dude, smashing keyboards, but dude, I'm not toxic anymore, and it's a lot of personal growth. So for me, that was the most positive change in the last decade. I mean, we all have our own problems, but my growth as a person, that was something that I had to look at, and I've changed
sure.
it. So
You gotta be able to look back on that.
so what is it that you guys what have you capitalized on as a person? What have you seen? Fuck, that's a flaw. I got to change this. What have you done? Let's talk about that.
I
Confidence for sure. I
do my
think.
own thing. Yeah. the
I
confidence
still
comes with a
want
lot
an
of that.
answer. I still want an answer about what the most memorable thing is, but I'm trying to feed that into
Okay.
this, so maybe it'll make you think of something. What was the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
memorable thing for you?
Ooh.
I
Okay,
just
I've
learned to
got
do
one.
my own
I
thing.
just
don't know.
just a heads up, the ceiling won't tell you, Netsy, by the way. Anyway, you have to remember this on your own. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so I think for me the most memorable thing is also one of the most sketchiest things ever. It was a bit ooh. It wasn't that long ago either. So basically, on my way to my interview, my girlfriend had a car, and it was a little bit ratchet, car, right?
mhm.
It was kind of one of those shady car lot deals, right?
Sure.
So we're
About to catch
driving
on
down
fire.
what would be the highway, driving down the motorway, and it must have been 3.5 hour drive from where we were at home to Brighton, where my interview was, right? And it's like 7 a.m., 7:30. I'm like really anxious because this, like, basically the interview was, if I don't play well, I don't get in. I don't do a degree.
Oh,
And I'm like,
you had to play
dude, yeah,
for them
no,
to let you in,
literally,
dude.
it's
Talk
crazy.
about nervousness, right? Anyway, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
So,
Okay.
I spent like the 3 days prior, like every day, I was like, right, I need to pick some songs, need to do this. And I used to be like a really anxious person, like really. So I used to be like freaking out. I was like, oh, anyway. So I've already had like 2 cups of coffee at that point. I'm sat in a car
That
freaking
probably
out.
didn't help.
No, really didn't. But I woke up at like 5 a.m. So I needed it. Anyway, so my girlfriend's car used to do this thing, right? Where it would just be like, yeah, I'm just going to start losing all power. It would basically go into limp mode, but it wouldn't pick up
Start seeing
revs
the
at all.
puffs of smoke coming out.
So we're driving down this motorway, right? And we're just about to take an exit. And this is like a major motorway. Okay. Major, right? Car beeps, ding, ding, ding on the little heads up display. Or you're losing power, whatever. And we're like, we're in the middle lane of a highway and everyone's doing 70 miles an hour. So anyway, we have to pull off onto the hard shoulder and it's like 7:30 in the morning. I'm freaking out. I'm having a meltdown. And there's just lorries, 70 mile an hour, 80 mile an hour, and we're just freaking. I'm just stuck on the side of the motorway, and my interview is in an hour. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, so we're waiting around for like 20 minutes, let the car cool off, do whatever. We managed to somehow make it to Brighton, and the amount of stress from that made my interview not seem that bad, really.
Yeah, kind of like a blessing in
mean,
disguise. That's kind of where I
That's a
was
good
thinking.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I'm
got
like,
it all out of your system before
it's
you
all
went
good.
in.
So I had a bit of a meltdown, and then guess what? I did a really good thing. I had another coffee. That was a great idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I go into my interview, and I'm like a bit of a nervous wreck, right? So I'm just like, oh hi, and I met my tutor and everything. He's a super nice guy, and he was like, so play these 2 songs. So I picked these 2 songs that were ridiculously challenging, but in my moment of absolute pinnacle meltdown, the last thing I was thinking about was those 2 songs. So I was just playing whatever.
Probably
And
gave you a break.
Yeah. He was like, okay, so you played them, perfect, fine. Off of that alone, you got in. And at that point, I'm just like, thank goodness.
Dude, I can imagine, man. A load off your
Ooh.
shoulders right there, dude.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
nuts, man. I mean, getting there like is probably nerve wracking alone. Then
Yeah,
breaking
exactly,
down.
yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
It was intense. But then I got in and got an unconditional offer, which basically is you don't need to do anything. You can just come here. And for me, I was always like, I don't know. So I went from like the most stressful experience of my life to the most like relieved I've ever been, because that was like 3 years of college plus like years of practice and everything, all for like 5 minutes. And then I went from like real low to like real high. And that was like the most memorable thing of like the last decade for me, 'cause it meant so much.
How long have you been in university?
So I'm a term into my second year.
Second year, and
That's
you've
about
already,
that.
and obviously you studied all your life. We talked about that in the last podcast.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that now. You're gonna have to watch the last one if you want to hear
Go
about
check
that.
out the password.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Sell that shit. All right, Default. Let me hear it, man. What do you got, bro? Jay
Hit us with
Briswell.
it.
Hit me with
All
it,
right.
man. Most memorable thing. Go.
So, back in high school, it was junior year, I think. It was about like time I was trying to buy my first car or whatever, and I just didn't want like an ordinary car. I didn't want to drive around, like the Honda Civic or the Toyota.
You didn't want to
Camry
be
or
that guy.
whatever. So like, I just wanted something different. I wanted something I could work on, and so Mustangs has always been in like my family. It's like running the blood. My grandpa used to fix them up, and so I was like, I want to get an old Mustang. So I bought a 1968 Ford Mustang Coupe.
I think I remember this. I think I remember
Yeah.
you sharing me with the last
It
few years. Yeah.
It was a heap. Like
Mhm.
it was bad.
Mhm.
Like
You still have
It had
still
so-
have pictures of that, right? Like you have that somewhere?
Yeah.
Because we can
Yeah.
link that in the description so they
Mhm.
can see it. Okay, anyway, go.
Yeah, I had like a whole album that I did.
Yep,
It was
I
3.5
remember.
years.
I
took,
remember.
like, over 400 pictures
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
of this whole restoration. I did it with my dad.
Yeah.
And it was like a wild experience. We didn't know what we were doing. We just kind of
Learning
winged
as you
it,
go
like,
kind of thing.
Yeah, like YouTube University. It's
Dude, and you know what? And
anything you need to know.
you're gonna carry that for the rest of your life, man.
Oh yeah,
You and your
Mhm.
dad, like, dude, that's the
Mhm.
beautiful thing about life, man. Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
That's wholesome.
Man, dude, and I remember how happy like I was like when you were showing me the progression where it started, and I'm like, yo, dude, when you put it in my chat, I'm like, dude, this is fucking badass.
That was
like this
probably
car.
about when I first started watching.
Yeah,
too.
I remember it, dude, like
That was-
yesterday. Yeah.
that was a while ago.
Yeah, oh my God, dude. Man, we're not the cradle anymore, boys. We're getting old. I'm old, man.
We're real out here.
I feel like my teenage years were just yesterday, but the reality of it is it's been like 25 years since I was a teenager. Not literally, I'm just kidding. You know, I am an old man. So that was the most memorable thing. Again, that takes me back to the original question, okay? Wait, what was the original question? I'm trash. What am I talking about?
The original question was,
That
what
was the
was
What was
the
the
most
most memorable thing? Okay, so where have you changed as a person? That's right. So you guys, I asked you the one thing about where you changed as a person. You hit me with a question before that. That's why I'm thrown off. Like, wait a minute. So tell me. So like, what did you change the most about yourself? Was there anything that you needed to change at all? Obviously, no one's perfect, right? And we can all agree on that. No one's fucking perfect, but like,
I had a lot to change.
so okay. So I want to hear about. So like,
yeah.
what was the biggest thing that you self-improved on in the last decade? Or it could be even just the last year, maybe just the tail end of the decade. I mean,
I'd say a lot of it happened in the last couple years. It was
Yeah,
just
for real.
like learning to be myself. I always wanted to do, I guess, what made people happy, which didn't make me happy. So, and I just kind of threw that mentality out the window. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I just kind of do my own thing now. And I guess a lot of confidence came with that. And the confidence kind of just feeds it. So I just kind of keep going with that momentum. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the same with me. I think in a confidence way, but like in a very interesting melting pot kind of way of like instead of it being like, oh, so I have these problems and I need to fix them with this. It was kind of I moved here, and I was like I'd moved away from home, like no family, no nothing, it was just me, into like a shared house with people I didn't know, which I thought were really nice at the time, but. So for me, it was kind of like, right, okay, so I'm on my own. I've got to figure all this stuff out, and then also at the same time living with people who are a little bit sus, to say the least.
Yeah.
That was really kind of like, okay, you need to like actually voice your opinion and be like confident in it. And I'll give you a prime example, right? And to this day, I still absolutely crease up about this, right? So I stay around my girlfriend's house one night, and my housemate's like, "Oh, we're gonna have a couple people over." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. I'm a cool guy. I don't mind. You do what you like." Anyway, so I come back home. My door's open, first of all, just open. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. All right, it's pretty lit. Maybe someone take the bins out. You know me.
yeah,
Optimistic as
yeah,
always, like,
okay. Anyway, yeah.
okay." So I open the lounge door. There's 4 people asleep on my kitchen floor because my kitchen and lounge are connected. There's 3 traffic cones, the trunk of a car, and
In
I'm
the
like,
house?
in the house, right? There's a trunk of a car.
What are you
and
guys doing over there in the UK? What
two
now?
2 wooden pallets. And
What?
yeah, I don't know.
Were they drinking? What were they doing?
Yeah, well, who knows? What
They were
doing.
fucking, dude. They must have been doing
There was
drugs
a
or
lot
something.
involved with that. Yeah.
I opened the door, saw all that, and was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just gonna close
Just
that door and just
open
pretend
the
I didn't
door,
sit."
Shut the door.
Yeah. So anyway, I go upstairs to my housemate who's organized this whole thing, and this is really for me where it was like, right, you got to like put your big boy pants on and figure out what's going on, right? So, and my house was 3 stories, and the guy whose party it was had like a loft that was like his room. So I knock on the door, and I don't hear anything, and I'm like, well, he's in. And if he's not in, I'm going to be really annoyed because there's a bunch of random people like starting up a Halfords downstairs, and I'm just here like, okay. Anyway, opens the door. It's like maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Nothing but flip flops and a bathrobe.
They started early.
That's it.
That's
And
lovely.
I asked him
That's
for an
fantastic, man.
explanation, and he's like, nothing. Same guy used to basically get really high and fall asleep and leave stuff in the oven 3 stories down and not wake up to smoke alarms. So for me, that was the kind of introduction into, hey, you got to be a big guy now. You got to put your foot down sometimes.
Yeah. And so you just live in a setting with your girlfriend now, right? Like it's just you two?
Yeah, so at the minute it is me, my girlfriend, and one other guy. There was another guy here, but he's like moved to London, so he doesn't live in the house. But yeah, it's just all good vibes now. It's all chill now.
So all the credit where it's due, like I give you, like for me, like you guys know how I am, like how OCD I am. You watch me play DayZ, you know I have OCD, right? So when I was 19 years old, I was moving in with my roommates, or my roommate, and he had a brother, and I took his spot, and his brother was pissed about it, whatever. But if you're listening, I'm not going to say his name, but if you're listening, man, I love you. I'm sorry, but it has to be said. But anyway, so, and this was deterrent because like everyone's super picky. Everyone has their super like their own thing. This was within the last decade, obviously 10 years ago. I moved in and everything was fine in the first few days. And I don't like messy things. Everything has a place. Everything's clean, right? And like I will never forget this, but like I'd come home and dude, there'd be fucking food on the counter. There'd be dishes piled up after I'd cleaned and left everything put away when I left. There'd be food crumbs on the floor, on the carpet, over the counter. Like, I'd go in, dude. Like, the dude would manscape over the toilet and leave the hair. Oh. Yeah, dude. Like, dude. And I was like, you know what? And I got, dude, it got to the point where, like, bro, I'm yelling at this guy every day. Like, this is my best friend at the time. Like, dude, I need you, please, brother. Please. I need you to do this for me because it is ridiculous. I feel like your mother. Like, I don't even want to have having this conversation with you. But it got so bad. That I ended up moving out because it was so bad. Like and eventually he left too. But since that point, and it's been a nightmare for me. Like as a kid, like I'm sure you guys are the same way. Like you wanted to just get out and get an apartment. Like that's all I thought about as a teenager.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of happy I haven't moved out from these stories.
That's like the roommate mentality, dude, from last decade. So like I was always dead set on having a roommate so that I could afford it. You know, so I was financially stable. Like I was never like great with money, but I was always smart enough to know that you have to have something to back up on, right? So like having a roommate would guarantee that I would have some money for if we needed it for emergency. So I always had that mentality, like get a roommate. And like I tried for years, ever since I was 16, to get a roommate, to find somebody like I liked in high school. Dude, let's get a fucking apartment because I can get at my parents' house, right? After that experience,
nope,
never. And there are people on Twitch like I wanted to do a streamer house, and I even asked you, Jay. I asked you a couple of times. And that's something I'd still do, depending, on where everyone's at, in their careers and financially and stuff. Right. Yeah, which I get that. But other than that, man, like that nightmare story, I don't. No. No, I can't. I can't live with people. No, man. And like even some of my ex-girlfriend's habits. I loved them to death, but like, dude, no. Like, and don't get me wrong, they weren't as bad as one of my best friends. He's still my good friend. I still talk to him. But it's not as bad as that. But
that's the difficult thing though, because for me, I was like before moving in, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so great. Everyone's gonna be so nice, and then you move in and you start.
It's just, dude, like
perfect scenario in your head.
Exactly, and you know what? You really start to see how people are by how they live, man. And like, it doesn't matter how much you like them, dude, but like, they could be the filthiest person and such a sweetheart, and it's just, dude, they just.
The view of them just starts to.
They just don't mix, man. Like, I don't care how nice you are. If you're filthy, get away from me, dude. Yeah. Oh man, I'm so guilty of that. Okay, so. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's all good. I was just gonna say, like, I think that is such a massive thing for so many people. Is like you said, like a lot of people when they're younger are like, "All right, I want to move out. I want to leave home. I want to do it. I want to be with my friends. I want to do all this stuff." And hypothetically, it's a great idea. Oh, just amazing. And then you get down to it, and it's like, it gets to a point where just one plate left on the worktop after you've done all the dishes. It's just like, right, that's enough. That's it. I can't live with people anymore. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But not everyone's like that. Just pick the right people. Anyone who's looking to move out and find roommates, make sure you know the person.
You really gotta know. Like, and in some cases, like, it doesn't matter how much you know somebody. Like, my ex-roommate, the ex-roommate that I had, like, I knew him for years before we finally, like, for 5 years before he moved in, and.
You didn't realize those things?
I mean, you know what? I did in some cases, but I thought it would be different.
Like, it's not that bad.
Well, no, I thought it would be different in our own setting, but it wasn't. It got worse because there was no parents yelling at him to do these things. He got comfortable, and like, got worse. And he thought I would not say anything. I think, and I'm like, nah, dude. And you know what? There's other things there too that I just won't mention because it would just be inappropriate for me to do so. But dude, just don't give me. Don't even get me started, man. Just like. Holy shit. Okay, so let's talk about, and for me, and I'll talk about a little bit about this. What are the biggest things that you can remember that you fucked up? What did you like? You could say, I kind of messed that up, or I screwed it up, or you royally. I mean, you fucked it. Like, you screwed it up, dude. So for me, like, when I was young, my first girlfriend, I don't talk about her that often, but I was actually engaged to be married at some point, which some people don't know. Actually, a lot of people don't know. I asked her to marry me after almost 6 years. And, dude, like, and we were going to get married. I would still be married to this day if and granted, I was young, right? I was like,
How old were you at the time?
I was 19, 20 years old.
Right.
And I'm 28 now.
That's young.
Yeah. So and we had been together since I was 17. So I wanted to get married to her. Like I thought, I was a fucking idiot, right? She was older than I was when we started dating. I think she was like 21. She was 21 when I was 17. And I turned 18 that year, the year we started dating. Relax, calm down. Anyway, no, but dude, like it was, we had a really good relationship, super healthy relationship. And everything was great. And dude, I screwed that up so bad. So now she's having her first baby with her husband. She's gotten married to another guy, which I've met. He's super nice. And I'm super happy for her. Like, I love her to death. I still talk to her. But every time I talk to her, I apologize because of how bad, like I was so dumb and young and stupid. Like when we were together, I just would fuck things up constantly, and she'd give me a chance. She'd give me another chance, give me another chance, give me another chance. And even like at the end, she was like pleading for me to change. And I couldn't do it. Like I tried. I was like, you know what? Like you're just gonna have to leave me because I'm a piece of shit. I remember telling her that, and she left me, and like she bawled her eyes out. And to this day, I feel so bad about it. Every time I talk to her, I am so sorry for how I treated you. Like when we were kids, like I'm really, really sorry. When I was a
wish you
kid,
could say that though.
yeah, I know, and you know,
a lot of people wouldn't be able to say that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for real.
But I mean, it's like personal growth, man. Like you really have to realize when you've hurt somebody. And one of the biggest things in life, for those of you listening and for you guys here, is like, and take my advice, is if you fucked up, own it. Because that's part of growing, man. That's part of life, man. And people will respect you more if you fucking own it. So that's like one of the most memorable things from last decade for me that I remember. What's something you guys screwed up? Like what did you fuck up so bad?
I think it was everywhere in between the age of 13 to about 6 months ago. That entire period. Yeah. So
That's a long time.
yeah. But so basically, I'm a strong believer in you do become a product of your surroundings growing up. I think a lot of people can kind of agree on that. Some people do the exact same thing. Some people do the opposite thing. It is what it is, right? You know, some people have protected it. So for me, I was brought up by just my mum. It was always just my mum, and she struggled through a lot to get by. We moved a lot of times, and there was a lot of like instability and all that stuff. So now my mentality is like, right, I got to grind, I got to get the shit done, I got to like do this, do that, so I can provide for my family when I'm older. But at the time, I didn't have that motivation.
Yeah.
So like going through school, like I was homeschooled for a couple of years, and that's kind of when I started doing like graphic design and all that stuff. But academically, always struggled. I've never been able to be like, I want to sit down and make this essay my bitch right now.
You know
Never
what?
been able to do it.
And I'll interject there for a second too. I'm the same way, man. Like I relate to you in that. It takes me. I'm a very last minute worker, so like everything I do, even on YouTube, everything that I do will be last minute. But that's when my brain. When my brain works really well. Like everything that I've ever done,
you need that pressure,
has been last minute, and like my brain is flowing. Like essays in school, everything. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, and what you said is the same thing, because I'm the type of person who, if I'm under immense amounts of pressure, I'll do like my best work. If I've got a month to do it, I'm sitting on my ass and it's not going to be done. Or at least that was the case. But I had the interjection of my girlfriend being like, "Hey, stop being a dingus and sort this out, because you got time to kill. You might as well do it." So
is it for you like it is for me? Like if anybody outside perspective tells me to get something under my ass, it doesn't really matter. It's still last minute. Is it?
It's like.
Yeah, it's right over your head. So it's the same way for me. Like it doesn't matter how much. Like, dude, you got to do this. Okay, all right. And then I'm just
like,
then I just take my time and do it anyway.
It's there for a second and it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always do everything last minute, regardless of how much people how much pressure. The pressure has to be like, okay, the timeline's here. At least for me, like timeline's here. I got an hour. Let's fucking do it. Let's get it turned in.
Yeah, for real. But that throughout like school and college, that was like really tough, and I learned a lot of lessons through that. Like I was in top set English in school, and then I just I got comfortable and I slacked, and I was like, whatever. To the point where I ended up failing my GCSE, which is kind of like, I guess, SATs for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
kind of similar. So I failed that. And that meant that I didn't have enough GCSEs to do a level 3 course, so I had to do a level 2 course. So that added an entire year onto my education. So then that was kind of a real big lesson of like, hey, if you put the work in, you wouldn't have needed to spend this year doing like a lower course than you need to do. And in grand scheme of things worked out right, yeah. But at the same time, it was like I'm putting myself back, and only I'm doing it. So for like a lot of years, I just didn't have the motivation, didn't do it right, didn't do things how they should be done. And like now, I'm paying for my education. I'm like, I probably should do something. Eh?
So did you ever
Every
have?
minute of that's worth it.
Did you ever have an opportunity to like achieve a certain status so that they would pay for it for you? Like in America, that's the way it works. Like if you score a certain test, or go ahead. Yeah.
Like
So
grants and stuff.
basically,
Exactly.
the way it is, if it was it's kind of difficult to explain. So my university is a private institution. It's not a like government university, if that makes sense. So if it was like an official university, it is an official university. But if it was like the University of like Scotland or the University of this or that, if it was like an official like government funded thing, then I would have the ability to do a scholarship. But because it's a private institution, I don't have that ability.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Mhm.
So it literally they can turn around to you if you don't do a good enough job and be like, yeah, no, we just don't want you anymore. Yeah, it's
damn.
pretty cutthroat.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Kick you
pretty
out like that?
tense. Yeah. To put it into kind of context for you guys, I have a lesson or two every week, which is you get given a song to learn on Monday,
Mhm.
and by Thursday you have to know that song through and through, be able to play it off by heart without any music, anything, with people you've never practiced before. If you do a bad enough job, you're getting kicked off stage. You just like, nope, not good enough.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
No.
That's too much
So-
pressure.
I'd get mad.
Yeah, but
I'd
that's
tell
the
them to
thing,
fuck
that's the
off. I'm gonna finish this. Like I'm gonna do
But
this.
like in what we just said though, like when you work the best under pressure, it is a
Yeah.
constant like driving force,
Mhm.
which for me like suits me really well. Because if there's pressure, I'm like, yeah, let's go, let's do it.
That's all that college seems to be. Is like the first few weeks is like, all right, I got this, and then they just
Yeah.
start piling on the work, and
Mhm.
you have no choice but to be last minute. And
Yeah.
then at that point, it's just like,
Well, let's not say
You're
that
just
you have no
scraping
choice to
by.
be last minute. I mean, we're college. Like I did college, right? But like it's a choice to be last minute.
Yeah. Sure.
You could be on top of everything, but if you do everything like they presented to you within those first like few weeks, dude, you're gonna be working nonstop. Like,
yeah,
dude. So like when I first started college, before way like my first year when I was like 19 years old, I was 18, 19. I was working 2 jobs. I was full time, 40 hours a week, school.
Mhm.
Ooh, excuse me. While streaming 1 to 3 days a week. Like, and my streams weren't that long. I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Like, I'd
Yeah.
go to university, come home, play or stream for like 3 or 4 hours, maybe 2 hours some days, and then I'd go to work. And then I'd come back, go to sleep, and work again in the morning at a different job, go to school in the afternoon, come home.
that.
Dude, I had no life. Like, I had no life. And then I took a year break, which is why it took me like 3.5, almost 4 years to get a 2-year degree. Then I took a break because my scholarship money ran out and my grades weren't that good to maintain the scholarship. So after I finished that semester, they cut me. They were like, all right, dude, like you're going to have to do out of pocket now because you're not maintaining that GPA we're looking for, it was totally my fault, dude. I didn't fucking do anything. Like everything was last minute, like just so that I could get by because I was more interested in partying and like girls and like, dude, that's all I want. I wanted to skateboard. Like, it's so funny, like what the degree that I was pursuing. Like everybody has those college like memories, but the degree that I was pursuing was so serious, and like I was just not serious about it at all.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
God, no. I mean, look at me now. Like, I found my love and passion for creating and an entertainment industry versus where I was raised to be studying police work, and I love police work. I do have a big passion for it, but it's just not where my heart is. That's what my dad wanted, not what I wanted.
For sure.
See, I had this dead end job that I was working, and I'm sure a lot of people could probably relate to this. And I think that's where I messed up bad because it was like I could have been doing so much.
Weren't
And I
you
think
like
that's
making
when
hot dogs? Wasn't
No,
that you?
I was working at an oil change shop.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It was bad.
Uh-huh.
Like, the pay was minimum wage. I was working the max you could doing part time, which I'm sure a lot of people same thing. They can relate to that. And it was just like a lot of times I was running the shop. I could have been maybe one of 2 guys there. Like it was kind of depressing, not gonna lie. Like just being there alone with like just some other dude walking around the shop having to run it. It was just like I had to get out of there. It was
for
just
sure. Yeah.
horrible.
I think the problem with employers and like workplaces is that they'll get used to somebody doing such a good job, and this is what the problem that where I currently
That's what
work.
happened.
They
Yeah.
get used to you doing a good job, and then they rely on you to do that good job constantly without ever
Mm-hmm.
like shifting the direction towards anybody else at all,
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
themselves.
And like that was happening. So I like asked for a raise a couple times, and then it got to the point where like I got a raise because minimum wage was raised, and it was
Yeah.
like,
Time to go. See you later.
yeah.
hmm
Well, that's where I messed up, was because I stayed.
Well, I mean,
And
you
I
need
stayed for another
money.
like year and a half. Well, yeah, that's
You
true.
needed
And
money,
it
so
wasn't like a hard job. So like while doing school, it was like kind of, I don't know. It was easy enough. So I stayed there for another year and a half, and then I asked for another raise. And I think it was like 3 months went by, and I didn't hear anything. So I just put my 2 weeks in, and that was it. It was
Yeah,
just,
sometimes also you got to do it because obviously you're like a bit of a car guy, so it's also kind of like a potentially like in a mental place. It's like, oh, there's maybe like a gateway job kind of thing.
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
later down the road, and
And,
I had a very similar experience working in a guitar shop actually. And it was, I think some employers have a tendency to be like, oh, this kid's like really into this. I'll make the most of that,
mm-hmm,
but then not actually like back it up with like financial pay. So for
mm-hmm,
me, I was working in a guitar shop doing like you say, like minimal hours, like as much as I could kind of thing. Um and I was always like the new guy. So it was always like prove yourself. But I worked there for like a year and I didn't stop. It was never like
yeah.
it never stopped. I think the last weekend I worked there, I think I made that company like 6.5 grand and didn't get so
holy
much as a
shit.
thank
Wow.
you. Yeah, because like my dad was a sales guy. I have it.
Mm-hmm,
I just naturally could just sell things. I've upsold people like £1,000 just like that. And my boss was like, "Yeah, I guess that's all right." And I'm
mm-hmm.
like, What do you want me to do? You're paying me minimum wage, and I just made you 6K in a day, and you've got nothing to say for it. Like,
Yeah.
what
See,
bonus?"
and I think a lot of the problem with that, and in most companies, and you guys will probably agree with this, is that people expect you to do that at whatever they decide to pay you when they hire you. They expect you
Yeah.
to go above and beyond because it's a job that
Mhm.
they gave you. So like they
Mhm.
hold you in the light, like I gave you this job, I'm the reason why you're working, so you're gonna be
Yeah.
doing this, and it doesn't matter how well you do, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't even commission based either, which was the rough thing for me because it was kind of like I loved my job because like you can imagine, right? Like I'm a passionate guy about music. My job is to literally like introduce people to that, you know?
Mhm.
Like around Christmas, you're helping kids get their first guitars. It was like really wholesome. So that part of the job I really loved. But then it was the kind of like you're paying me minimum wage to work maximum hours I can to make you as much money as I can whilst you do nothing.
Yeah.
And like you say, it was similar for me, Justin, where it was just one or two guys.
Mhm.
And so you have to run an entire shop by yourself.
Yeah.
But I think people get locked into because you're passionate about the job, you end up dealing with a lot more shit than a lot of people would if it wasn't something you were interested in.
Mhm. I'm not sure if you had it there, but like the longest I ever saw someone else work there was maybe like 6 months, besides the managers and stuff,
hmm
because people would just come and go. And I stayed there 2.5 years,
Yeah.
so it was just like,
They were probably expecting you to move up too. I bet you they
oh,
were.
I asked them actually at
Yeah.
one point, like I had an easier semester, like, hey, like you have a shop that you need managed, like is there any possibility of that, even if I do it part time?
Yeah,
And
it's just kind of experience kind of thing.
it was kind of a good look on the managers. They were like, we know you're not a lifer here. Like, we don't want you to spend your entire life doing this. Like, your schooling is more important. So I like that.
Well,
The
that's good.
managers,
Yeah.
the
I respect
job
that.
was terrible, but the
Mhm.
managers were really cool. Like, they understood that the job was bad, but like they just kind of looked out for me with that. So
Yeah.
that
Well, I
like
think you got
that was the
lucky
one
there.
takeaway from it.
You know, at the same
So,
time, it's kind of like, why the frick did you guys give me a raise then? If you're gonna say that to me, like,
well, that was the thing. It wasn't up to them. It was up to the owner. In the two and a
ah,
half
Right.
years that I worked there,
so it was like
I
a
didn't
small
meet the
place,
owner.
right?
It
It's not
Yes
like
and
a
no.
chain. It's
They
not. It wasn't a
have
chain, right?
No, it was a chain.
It
They
was?
have like they have I think like 6 or 7 locations in New Jersey.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
But it's
But
it's
in a,
local though. Like I couldn't get that here
yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
at. Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, no.
Okay.
In those 2.5 years, I never met the owner. And the
That's
only
crazy.
time I ever talked to the owner was after I put my 2 weeks in, maybe a few months after I left. I didn't get my tax form, and I had to call the owner to get my tax form. And it was just like,
Mm,
that's how I knew, like, all right, I did a good thing by getting
you
out of
did. You
there.
made
It
the right
was,
decision. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
For
it
sure.
was just, the
Okay.
whole place was messed up.
So let's get back on track here. So
Right.
for you guys, in the beginning of the decade, did you guys? Okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions. I want to see what your guys' perspective is on that. So for me, like with a New Year's resolution, it became a customary thing, something that I was used to seeing. And I believed in it so much because I was seeing it, and like I was so hyped up about everyone's positive mental attitude about it. In the beginning of the year, like a fresh start, like dude, the reality of it is it doesn't matter. Like it's just
time keeps
it's just time keeps ticking. Like it doesn't matter. Like, but people see it as a reset. So do you guys believe in New Year's resolutions? And if you did, if you don't now and you did, what changed that and why? What did you guys? If you did you guys set resolutions in the beginning of the decade? I think I did. But for every year, I think I did for every year when I was younger.
I have long-term goals for the year, but I don't have like resolutions.
They're not
Right.
under, like, the
I don't know if they're
resolution
similar
label,
in a
yeah.
way, but like
I think
I
like
feel like they're different.
the goals, like the problem with New Year's resolutions is, for me personally, it's like it seems to be so temporary. It's just
For
that
sure.
year.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
we should be setting goals for a lifetime, for the rest of our
Yeah.
lives. I mean, some people don't even see 50 years. You know, obviously there's a whole lot of, you know, the world is crazy, but like,
And the resolutions are like, I feel like they're so concrete. So like if you don't complete that resolution, you kind of like beat yourself up over it. Whereas a goal is kind of like it's something
It's a
to
bit
aim
more
for. But if you
lenient
don't get it, it's
goal.
like it's all right. Like you still tried. So like
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's different. I think different cultures have like a different thing. Because, like, for example, like I'll be on Twitter now, and obviously we're recording this early January, and people are like, "Oh, my New Year's resolution's this. My New Year's resolution's this," and it's all stuff. It's like, if it wasn't the New Year, would you set that as a goal for yourself? You know,
Yeah.
or are you saying it because it's New Year's? And don't get me wrong, I have goals. That's great. Have resolutions. That's great. But then there's never any kind of, and I mean, obviously people have circles that kind of
and it's almost
enforce
like why wait for the first of the year to set this
Yeah.
goal? Why not just do it
jump on it.
regardless? Like it's
Yeah.
it's become such a silly thing to me. Like I see, and for me, like it was a lot of process of like I'd start every year. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna accomplish this, and then I'd never fucking do it. Like there were some goals where I did, but like the long term stuff like that I've made, like I'm still sporadic. Like I'm still up in the air. Here I am, 28 years old. I don't have a girlfriend. I have a degree that I don't pursue. Like I had so many passions that I wanted to pursue, but like and life is so crazy, man. Like here I am doing entertainment stuff as a career, and like I never expected to be here. This was not my goal. You know, 5, 6 years, 7 years ago. No, I wanted to be a police officer on the streets for years. Or I you know, and I actually enlisted into the military. I tried to enlist into the military, and they denied me because I had a surgery from when I was playing football. I broke my finger, and it was just a little thing, but they were concerned about the surgery, and I couldn't enlist for 6 months after that surgery, and I had just got it done. Like that was a huge life-changing event for me, because like if I had been accepted, I'd have been a life military. Like, what would I be doing? I would have never been here.
The podcast right now.
No,
You'd
we
be
wouldn't.
doing other things.
I'd be doing other things. I'd be out defending the
way,
country somewhere. And now we're on the peak of World War III. We're not even gonna fucking get into that, because it's just I don't even want to touch that.
And I started seeing the memes about it.
Bro, I
turned
turned off Twitter. I turned off Facebook.
Yeah.
My phone is off because I don't want to see that shit. Anyway, but yeah, man. So like resolutions, I think it's a flaw in society. At least I don't know. I mean, it's the same way over there with you, Netsy. But like in American culture, like it is a norm to see that on social media and Facebook and Twitter and like everywhere, dude. Like I'm gonna do this, dude. I'm gonna lose 20 pounds and I'm gonna.
It's always the
get
same
this.
thing as well.
It's always the same thing. Yeah, it is, man.
It's so temporary. Like,
it's so
you had
temporary.
those resolutions and you owned up to it and like did them, then like that's great.
Yeah.
But
I also feel
idea
like
is
the
temporary.
perspective nowadays on like resolutions isn't in the right place, at least in my mind. So, for example, if I'm on Twitter or Facebook and I see someone like, this year is going to be the year I hit the gym, it's like that's great.
That's the most stereotypical one.
No, but it's like that's the thing. So I'm gonna either lose
yeah.
20 pounds or hit the gym, and it's like that's great. But are you doing it so you can say you've said it, or are you doing it because you want to improve yourself?
Mhm.
Like, and there's never any kind of like, hey, you didn't hit the gym this week. Come on, get up, let's go.
And that's a good
It's
point
like,
too. A lot of the things that people say are just for social media. Like, dude, we could do a whole podcast about that.
was
I
thinking
think we
about that
should.
before
I
didn't
think we
say it.
should.
But social media has consumed people this decade. Like, technology is progressing, obviously.
yeah.
Dude, we're doing
Yeah.
crazy things now with technology. Don't even get me started. We got robots that
AI,
walk and talk,
yeah.
bro. It's nuts. But you know, with social, like Twitter, Instagram, and you'll see like artists, and it's actually really, really like depressing and beautiful at the same time. Like, you'll see artists like, you know, somebody will be taking a selfie, and like in the mirror next to them there'll be like a skeleton and just looking for hearts, and like, because they're like dead. Like, it's not even like they're progressing. We're just we're craving that attention on social media. It never used to be like that.
Nope.
And that branches into a whole nother subject. I'm just going to touch on this. I'm not going to go into it. We're not going to touch it. Well, we're going to touch it, but we're not going to go into it. But like relationships,
Save it for
man,
another
we're
episode.
talking about consumption, like relationships.
Yeah.
People are so consumed with social media that it destroys relationships.
Yeah.
You know, and marriages and people, they're not lasting. People are getting married, they're getting divorced within a year. It's fucking wild. We're not going to touch that. But anyway, but yeah, social media is crazy, and with the resolutions,
That's one
man.
standout from the last decade, I think.
Yeah,
That's one thing that I
that's
can see.
one
Even
thing that's
someone going
majorly
on
changed.
Exploded.
So like, when did Facebook come into existence? 2008, I think.
Yeah, I think it was 2008.
It was
yeah,
2008,
around that
and
age,
Facebook is like first. Actually, it was MySpace first. I remember having a MySpace in high school, and then it was Facebook, and then from Facebook it was freaking Twitter. I think it was Twitter. And then from Twitter, I mean,
That's when I stopped caring.
YouTube blew
was
up,
around
and,
Twitter.
and I think it was
Yeah.
like 2013 or 14, and that became a norm to like tag yourself and put and like how to do things on Twitter on videos, and like people were taking like, you know, Jackass was a thing, and people started doing their own Jackass videos and putting them. Dude, don't even get me started. We could do a whole show on that, man.
Save
One
for another.
Yeah, we could do a whole show on that, dude. It's nuts.
Regarding that era,
But
one thing
anyway,
I do want to point out.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One thing I want to point out from that era is that I feel like for anywhere between 2011/12 to 2015, I would say that was like the creativity golden era, right? Like think about that time frame, right? Well, we think about gaming. Obviously, we're all gamers. We all play stuff. You know, we stream, so on and so forth. Think of the throwback games: Battlefield 3, Modern Warfare 2, like Skyrim, all that stuff.
Yeah, I was
Fallout
gonna
New
say
Vegas.
Skyrim was a huge one.
That
You're
era
huge on
was-
Skyrim default. The memes, dude.
Like
Anyway.
that was like the thing. Do you know what I mean? That was like the era. And whereas now, with numbers being a thing, I feel like that is taking everything and it's just more. Just I want more of this, more of that, more of this, more of that. But yeah, that's why people are like, "Hey, take me back to the Xbox 360 lobby days." Like, you know what I mean?
Oh man,
I'll go back and play the old games because I
Yeah,
just don't like a
for
lot of the new ones.
I'm
Like,
with
a
you.
lot of it's
I'm
just
with you, man. Like in a lot of the
mass-produced and-
like the older generations, dude, will tell you like Mario and like all that stuff is where it was at. Whereas like now, like I have no interest in Mario. Mario's changed so much on the Switch
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
Wii. Like the consoles aren't even that great. Well, in my opinion, not great. You know what was great was the Wii, man. No, don't even
The
start.
Wii was, that was so
That
innovative
was a
at the time.
solid,
as well.
dude. It was solid console. Like I still have one. Like I don't use it ever, but like Wii Sports, don't,
Yeah.
bro. Count me in, dude. Wii bowling all day, every day. I'm in it to win it, baby. Let's go. Yeah, but so as far as like the resolutions on social media, man, I think people have become so consumed with putting the positive projection that they're going to work on themselves just to get the likes and the feedback. But the reality of it is like most
it
people
gets dropped off in a couple weeks.
it's usually
Yeah,
gone,
yeah.
and sometimes even a few days. And like, and now
Yeah.
like I log on to Facebook or something, and like I see that as I see jokes about it. It's day 2
Yeah.
of the new year, like who's still doing the resolutions? Like, and I see that so much. Like,
Yeah.
and, you know,
That actually touches on what we are doing in regards to this podcast as well. Actually, that you've said that is, I think, especially with a lot of like visual social media, so like Instagram and so on, everything's like numbers based, literally. And there is this veil of like your social network personality or persona and your real life persona.
Mhm.
And I think obviously that's the kind of goal with this as well, is to be like, so who are you behind the numbers? Like, what do you
Yeah.
do? Because it's so easy to get lost in someone's persona and not know them.
That's
so-
something that like. Oh, go on.
No, no, you're going. I was just gonna
Okay,
say
I'll-
like that's a bridge that I personally I've tried to break since I started. Like I'm the same
Yeah.
person right now as I am on the show. Obviously, there's some things that I can't talk about on the show that we shouldn't. There are some things we do talk about on my show, my stream that we shouldn't talk about, but we do.
Yeah.
But you know, I believe that, and I say this all the time. Transparency is so important.
Yep.
Like I want to be blunt with people because we've gotten to the point in this day and age where being blunt and honest about something is offensive versus the truth. Whereas I'm so worried about telling person A that they're being a piece of shit that they're gonna, that they're gonna come down on me in a negative way, when the reality is they need to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, with my Instagram stuff, you scroll on Instagram, you see people just put like a few words for a caption, or whatever. It's just like
Yeah.
they're just putting the pictures out there, whatever. I try to just, I don't know. Some of my posts are long, like multiple paragraphs, and that's what I try to just. That's just me.
It's
Like,
real.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's
I try
real,
to
and
make
you
it
know
as
what?
real as possible.
And people respond to that clearly.
Yeah.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I'll touch on this more and more, and you'll just be like, "No, man, it's not that serious." But dude, I see your Instagram with like hundreds of likes, and I'm like, dude, these photographs that you take are beautiful, man. Really, they are.
you.
They are really, really
I still
good.
got a
And
long way to go.
oh man, you're getting there though. I mean, but you're in the right track right now, and
Yeah.
to see how people respond to that is nice. Like with dude, I'm huge on that transparency, being honest, because like, again, there's just not enough people that are honest. You know,
It's a rarity nowadays.
It is. It's like a motive. Like, I have to gain something to be honest with you for most people. Like, and I just, I can't stand that. I can't stand it at all. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I say we move on to
yeah.
What we I say what goals for 2020?
Goals for 2020?
Right, you could do that.
Goals for 2020.
We got lots in the itinerary here, dude.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So yeah. So what do you? Okay. So and this will bleed into it a little bit. So. You guys obviously didn't really. You said you didn't really set goals for 2019, or at least the decade. Maybe am I right on that? Right? I'm assuming that. Not really.
Yeah, I think I changed a bit too much to if I did set goals, they wouldn't be applicable now. Anyway.
Okay. So do we
I'd say
have
last couple years?
Do we have any now? And what are you planning for the decade? Like we just talked about, planning for the long term, or are you planning for the year? Be honest. Okay, let's talk about
the year.
You're oh
I
man.
got both. I'll let you go first.
They lead into, I guess.
So you need to
like
accomplish these
developing
things within the next few years to get to the point long term. So you are thinking long term, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the building blocks.
Okay. Yeah.
building
Everything
blocks.
is growing pains. Absolutely. I'm with you.
So I just want to graduate. That's the first thing.
And how far?
It's a good goal to have.
How
I'm
far?
in my senior year.
You're in your
so
senior. You're going for a bachelor's, right?
Yeah, I got 2 semesters left. So
My God,
next
dude,
next
you're so
fall,
close.
I'll be graduating.
You're so close, man. I'm super excited.
I've
for
been sending out so many applications for internships. You would not believe.
I believe it.
And it's only begun, so I probably got until like March. So I got that going on. That's just like the schooling, and then the photography stuff is just like a whole nother thing. So like a big goal for me has been making it out to other tracks and just out of the tri-state area, because I've never left outside of like Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. So there's so many tracks out there. A few buddies of mine actually want to go out to Michigan. So that's kind of like a trek for me. But at the same time, it's like you just gotta, I guess, throw yourself into it. That's kind of been the mentality from 2019, was just like throw yourself in there and
Go full send.
see what happens. Yeah, exactly. And so far it's worked. So I got that track in Michigan. There's another event down in Wildwood, New Jersey that's going on later in the year. There's a raceway up in Connecticut and also one in Virginia. So like,
remember what we talked about in the first podcast, dude. The more uncomfortable you are, the more character you're gonna build. So absolutely.
Even if like those are just like 4 or 5 tracks there, like even if I just get 1 or 2 of them, like that's enough for me. So like
Because you got to think about
kind of where I
take from it as well.
What was that?
You got to think about the content you're going to take from those visits at home too.
Yeah, like that's why I think it differs from like New Year's resolutions, because a resolution to me is more solid. Like if you don't achieve it, then it's kind of all lost. But even if I just go to 1 or 2 of these tracks, like to me, that's worth it in itself. So I don't know. That's kind of mentality I've been having with it. So that's what I got going on for this year.
It's great, man.
What's your long term then? Like what are you hoping to like take your photography into, or like what are you hoping to do with your degree kind of thing?
Right now, it's a real battle between the two, like the degree and the photography, which I kind of like because it's always just nonstop. Like I'll set the bar with photography, and then I gotta set the bar for the engineering stuff, and it's always just constantly climbing. And it keeps me on my toes, like trying to juggle everything for the photography stuff while also trying to get all my assignments done for school. And it like I need that kind of nonstop movement
Yeah.
because once I slow down, it's hard to like build up that momentum again.
Get that motivation back. Yeah.
Yeah. So the long-term goal with the photography stuff at least would probably be getting paid for it. So kind of just like side money, that kind of thing. And like I just want to kind of make a name for like my work. Like I think that's even bigger than the money aspect because like you could make money doing anything, but just being able to have someone like, yo, like I know whose work that is, like that'd be awesome to me. And then for
Yeah, for sure.
the schooling stuff, like to me, the job is more so to fund the photography, I think. So like they both work hand in hand. Like in order for me to get better gear and for me to travel to different places, I need to work on the engineering and be able like that'll allow me to afford some of the things that I need for the photography. So that's kind of like it all works hand in hand. It's just like a big circle of working together.
Have
So,
Bit of
you
an ecosystem.
have you developed a portfolio for your photography, or have you not had the time? Or
like
do you
I
kind of view
probably could.
your Instagram as kind of your portfolio?
No, like my Flickr, I think is more of the portfolio. Like I have some pictures on there that are kind of like the best of the best.
Mhm.
I'd say like my
Hmm.
personal best, but it's not really like presented as that. Like eventually, another goal would be to like make a website and have that, so like someone could just go there and see like my best work, and maybe if
Yeah.
I decide to one day sell prints or something like that sort of thing, like I could have my own shop there or whatever. Like I don't know, one step at a time. I haven't even
Yeah.
thought about that yet. For now, it's like I need to work on making the photography better and making the editing better and that sort of thing. So like I have a solid foundation for once I am able to do that. It's just a really smooth transition.
I personally think you could do it right now. Like
Yeah.
I think you could make a portfolio and you could put yourself out there, make business cards, and tell
Mhm.
people like, hey, I do this photography and I'll do a shoot, something. I mean, you could. I have friends that do photography and like, not that you'd want to do this, but like they do engagement photos and stuff like that. But their passion is like, nature and stuff. But they do that stuff on the
Yeah.
side, and they make
Yeah.
actually really good money to support
Yeah.
themselves doing it. So you could
I mean, looking
definitely
at
do
your
it.
work, your work isn't like big because of your work, if that makes sense. It's not because of your work that it's not where you want it to be. I think it is a case of your outreach isn't as big as it
Eh,
could
I
be.
I only started doing this the summer of 2018. So like I'm
Yeah.
still pretty
But
fresh
even
to
in
it.
that time frame, you've done
Yeah.
You're
really
just
well.
started, man. Like, and
Yeah, you're
that's
like
crazy.
new in the
That's
game.
That's why I'm not really like I don't care about where I'm at right now because I know I'm so fresh to it. Like right now is just more so learning and
Yeah.
just getting better at it. So I don't know.
good,
That's
man.
just the
You're on
mentality
the
I
right
have right
track,
now.
dude. Again, like you're killing it. I keep saying it, and that's cool, man. 2018, you're doing it, man. Good for you.
Doing bits.
Good for you, man.
2020 is gonna be big.
All right, let's
What
hear
you
it,
got going
Mr.
on?
Bailey. What do you got?
Ooh. Right. So short-term goals. At the minute, we
So
had
wait,
this
wait.
discussion.
So let me stop. So are you thinking just this year, or are you thinking the
Okay.
overall goal? Be honest.
It kind of like Justin, it ties in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
obviously I'm doing a degree in music, and it's kind of like you in an aspect, JR. Like I have that degree, I'm passionate about that degree, but that degree at this point is a degree.
Mhm.
Having been exposed to the kind of music industry and how it works, full of snakes. Don't want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah, no, it's rough. But don't get me wrong, I'm really passionate about what I do. But the way I'm looking at it is that degree is more a tool under the belt than it is like my main kind of focus. Like a career in that, although it might be okay, like pay wise in regards to like sustainability and survivability, which is a big thing for me. Like I could work my ass off and be really big and barely scrape 30K a year.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't
Or
want to roll with the photography because
exactly, yeah. A lot of creative arts require a lot of
yeah.
time,
And you know
not a lot
what?
of.
What you could do, Justin, I'm sorry, Bailey. What you
No,
could
that's all right.
do is you could whatever you pursue engineering wise, you could take artistic, beautiful photos of like the creation process.
Whatever we're working on.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that shit would be
Yeah.
anyway, $1 million idea. You owe me a check. Anyway, go ahead. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bailey.
So basically, I'm looking into different kind of career paths because like music's great, but it's not sustainable. And I had this conversation with my girlfriend the other day, and I was like, I could work for 20 years and barely hit 30K a year, or I could have a starting salary in an IT position for 35 with minimal work involved, really.
and still be
So
able to do your music stuff on the side.
yeah, and as well with like the current, not to get into politics, and I won't do, but a lot of things are changing in the UK regarding like musicians and artists being able to go abroad to like play gigs or do festivals and stuff. The kind of rules on that are changing, so it's getting more and more restricted and more accessible to make a career from it. So I'm thinking long term, shift my career whilst I'm young, so that I'm 20. Do you know what I mean? I could work for another 20 years in a career and still be like not old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just thinking like, realistically. So goals for the year are basically establish where I want to go. I know a lot of people in the right places to shift my career into IT, which is what I'm passionate about. This is why I do what I do. I've been passionate about computers since I was like 8. So, you know, that's kind of goal for this year. Set up a career, get things in place, and just start working towards that. That leads into long term, like number one thing I want to do in this decade, buy a house. Straight up. That's like the number one thing because I never
I
used
didn't
to
even
live.
think about that.
That's a
Yeah, no,
fantastic
literally.
goal to have, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
with you
because
there.
like I grew up in a pretty, unstable place, and I don't want that in my life. So that's like number one goal. I do
And-
that, then I'm like already where I want to be.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. So the UK is currently, I know it was, I don't know if it still is, but you guys are currently undergoing like a super poverty-stricken financial crisis right now, aren't you not?
Okay, so basically what's going on is with the UK being the way it is, obviously in the US you have states and then you have capitals of states and then property price, which is what a lot of it is built on, like property price will vary depending on like either the land you have with it or its location, right? Now the thing about the UK with it being so highly populated, um housing demand really high. So to put it into perspective, the place I'm in now, I pay £600 a month for, which equates to, let me figure this out because I want to put this in perspective for you guys. £600 a month is $785 a month to live, just to rent one bedroom, not in the center of Brighton.
See, that's cheap for around where I'm at.
See, now this is the thing. Now that's me renting, right? Now the
Okay.
price of a mortgage in the same house I have checked is half of that, easily. So it's like the price
You
is
just
going
gotta
up
have
because
that
there's higher
upfront money.
demand. Yeah, and there's also like jobs are paying less and less and less unless you're specialized in something. So at the minute, there's a lot of kind of like low income housing and a lot of low income families, and there has been for a really long time. Because the UK used to be very industry based, a lot of factories, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of shipping, like all of that, and that's all been offshore now. So there's been a bit of a wobble. The value of
It's like
pound went
unstable.
down.
Like you guys are trying to
Yeah.
transition and it just hasn't really gone anywhere,
Trying to
right?
sort it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I'm viewing it is like, right, if I'm gonna be in a career, I want it to be not kind of restricted by borders, if that makes sense. Like if you're in the IT world, the internet's the internet. You don't need an
Yeah.
internet passport
You
to
could
work
work
for someone in
remotely.
Shanghai. Do you know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
that's like a job of the future too, like knowing
Exactly,
how
yeah,
things
it's
function and how to
sustainable.
fix them. That's where we're at right now too.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end here, so let's get up some wrapping notes. Wrap it up
We'll
here.
wrap it up.
So do you guys have anyone in your lives that you share your goals with, and do they approve of them? For me, my goal, before we touch into that, is, you already know, I want to achieve a certain status on Twitch. I work my ass off every day. You guys know that, and I really, really want to. I want to be working with not only Twitch. I want to be working with. It's big goals, but like celebrities, and I want to do.
Yeah.
I really, really have a passion for the ASPCA, the work that they do for animals. You guys know how big my heart is when I have 2 rescues in the same apartment with me. I really want to do charity work for veterans down the line, and I really want to do it for pets, for animals, homeless animals. That shit kills me when I see countless unspeakable acts against animals. That's what I want to work towards. Obviously, you guys know that I have someone special in my life right now that I want to build up a relationship with. That's currently happening. But for you guys, like, who do you share your goals with? For me, it's just me right now. But for you guys, you both, well, he lives on his own. Jay Briswell, you live with your family currently. So
Yep.
do your parents know about your photography, like your
Yeah.
passion in it? What do they want to see from you?
A lot of the stuff, even with my family, I kind of keep low key. Like I'm one to just kind of build up in the background, just like because I want to show my best work that I can. So like I don't want to
Yeah.
show the the intermediate stuff, I want to show them the end result. So like
Okay.
once I get something big, then I'm like, hey, this happened, and then like it's just kind of like drops it. So
Okay.
like they know about the photography stuff. I don't think they support it as like a long-term thing,
Mm-hmm.
but they see it as like kind of a hobby thing where I see it as
Mhm.
like a potential career path. So
Okay.
but
So you have
that's like
outgoing support in all directions of anybody that you've told. I know we support the shit out of you, obviously, but like you've never heard somebody tell like second guess you, even if it's family related. Like I don't know if you should be doing
yeah,
that.
I've
You have?
had family, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and
Okay.
like I've told them on the spot, like I don't care, like
Oh.
going into it, I knew that
Oh.
I told him like going into it, I knew that it's not realistic, and I don't care that it's not realistic,
Right.
but I'm gonna do it anyway because like
Yeah.
this is what I like to do. So
For sure, yeah.
I
And
don't
that's the
know,
way you
like
should
that.
be, man. Like, and I think
Yeah.
we could touch on a whole episode about this too. But like, I think we're as kids, we're conformed to do certain things, and like adults
Yeah.
at the time conform us to get that college degree,
make money. It's
get a
just like,
big job, like, and that's the way it was through like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you know. And I just want to do what I want to do, what makes me happy. And for somebody with OCD, like not like real OCD, but like I kind of have mild OCD. For me, it's like I just want to do what makes
Mild,
me happy,
though, only mild.
and that might change. Like I have gone through phases all throughout my life where things have made me happy at a period, and I thought it would forever, and they haven't. So this is like the first stable thing that it's been 5 years. 5-year anniversary is coming up, boys.
I can relate that too. Like the photography stuff is like the first stable thing that like I never really had a like kind of in the last episode, like the passion thing. I never had too much of a passion. I just kind of had things I liked. And then I just like the photography is the first thing that I really had like a developing passion for. So I just like sent it with that.
All right.
So
All right, Bailey, hit me with it, man. What do you
Bailey?
got?
Ooh. So, for those who don't know, I'm from the north, and we just had a conversation about industry. North of England was very industry driven, so a lot of people there, like family included, are very like, if you don't do like a hard working job, it's not a real job. You know what I mean?
Oh
Okay.
man, don't,
Yeah.
dude,
It's
I could
that,
go,
it's that,
bro.
yeah.
My again,
Mhm.
we taught. My dad was the same way. Like, if you're not a cop, like, what are you doing? Like, at least
Yeah.
for me, like, I mean, he means well and he loves me, but like, I was so into it, and he wanted that so bad for me that it just became like, you know, why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
You're sitting on your ass
So-
playing video games. You love them, but that's not making me happy. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's I mean, you get it. It's a kind of it's the
Absolutely.
man's approach kind of thing.
Sure.
So, and I mean, I haven't lived up north for like, you know, what is it now, 13 years? I'm looking at the ceiling again. Answer me.
This fucking ceiling, dude.
Yeah, it's been like 13 years since I lived with my family like up north. And they're a big family, and a lot of them share the same mentality. And I'm like a pretty creative person, you know, like that's something they didn't quite click with. And it literally took for me to be like, here you go, here's my acceptance to do a bachelor's degree, for them to be like, huh, so this is like
this is legit.
this is legit then? You know what I mean? In the same way that like doing anything creative I mean, let's just say there's been things said that I can't repeat on the internet regarding that
absolutely.
whole thing. So like it's not like my family don't support it. I think they do now because I've kind of made them in a way, which is like I've already done it. You can't not support something I've already done. If that makes sense.
They can't deny the proof.
Yeah, people who I like share my goals with, really, I only share my goals with people who I want to be a part of them. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? You know, so like for
Yeah.
example, my
I'm
girlfriend
kind of the same way.
knows everything I want to do because I wanted to be a part of it. In the same way as like certain family members that I want to be close with down the line, kind of thing. But at the same time, I'm kind of like you you Justin, in the same way of I'm not going to show progress. I'll show a result.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because then the expectations that are kind of expected of you aren't there. If that makes sense, it's more of like, oh, here's product, not like here's what I'm trying to do. But I think that's more on me, just like being hard on myself, being like, just crack it out, do it.
That's so funny because the both of you kind of relate in that regard, whereas me, and you might agree with this, but I find beauty in the process. So like for me, I want to show everything that I've done over the last 5 years because it's shit. But what I'm producing now is fantastic.
Yes, you got like.
But I always like even the garbage that I presented. There was like that one piece of shiny metal inside that trash that you could pick out and be like, yeah, exactly. So it's like it's a process, and like as I look back, man, like it's really beautiful, like how far I've come, like, and I treasure that. And maybe I shouldn't, because I've shown my family things that I've done and where I was at, and they're like, oh, you're really gonna do this? Like, this is, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you go apply to a department? Like, dude, I can't tell you how many times my mother, like, God bless her heart, but you know, it's always been like that. But yeah, for me, like, I'd like to showcase. I like to showcase because I can look back on the things that I've done and see where I'm at and see how it's changed me and I've progressed. And that, like the intros, default, you've seen the intros change over and over and over. And I've had some really bad intros. And I've also had a few good ones, and they've gotten better. And now this one that we have,
I like the new one.
They can't get enough of it.
Hard to beat.
It's going to be very hard to beat. And I have
gonna be nothing like it.
I've thought about making a new one. I'm not going to say much more than that. I have maybe started one, maybe or not. But yeah. So yeah, 2020, boys. Is it
the grind? 2020 is what it is.
It's the grind for the big goals this year. Accomplish your smaller ones or your short-term goals. Yeah, I think, gentlemen, dude, we're gonna wrap it up here. I think that's a fantastic conversation as always. If you guys want to keep in touch with us outside of the podcast, you guys already know where to find me. Twitch.tv/DudeiRage, Twitter.com/DudeiRage. We got Mr. Justin, aka Jay Briswa, at Instagram.com. We'll put all the links below. Obviously, we got Netsy here, N3TSY on Twitter and Twitch. I love you guys. You guys are beautiful. Thank you for being here. This has been Delete the VODcast. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.